Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 9.1 Notes. Today we're talking about identifying functions and their domain and range. Our learning target today is to be able to identify if a relation is a function and identify its domain and range. So some of this will be review and some of it will be new. Let's go ahead and get started. I've already written down all of the definitions that you need. The first one is a relation. A relation is a pairing of values, and that is written as x comma y. The domain of a relation and the range of a relation. The domain is the set of x values, and that's written with D and inside of the brackets. And inside of those brackets, oh, I did forget to put one thing. We put the x. And for the range, we do the same thing, and then we put the y. So the domain and range, when we write those, we put them in order from least to greatest. And then the last one, a function is a relation that passes the vertical line test. And that means when you draw a line on your graph and to make sure that no 2 points are directly above each other. Okay? All right, if you need more time writing those definitions down, please pause the video. Otherwise, we're going to get started. Okay, so the directions say to identify the domain. So identify the domain and the range of each relation. Then we have to determine, is it a function? Okay, so when we're talking about the domain is the x values. Okay, so I'm going to write myself a note that it's the x values, and that goes from the left to right. When we're talking about the range is the y values, and that goes up and down. Okay, so let's look at number 1. So as I'm looking left to right on this graph, so left to right, that's the way we're looking. Is there a specific place where we can say it starts exactly here, or it ends exactly at 5? Might be like, yeah, Mr. Grice, I can. And I'm going to be like, no, you can't. Okay, see that little arrow right there? That arrow means that this line just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, and as it keeps going, there's no stopping, starting, or stopping to that, okay? So when it is like that, they're saying that our domain, the set of x's, since we don't know where it starts or stops, that it is all real numbers. I don't know where it starts. I don't know where it stops. Now, look at the range. The range now, we're talking about up and down, the y values, okay? And even though it looks like it stops at 4, remember what we just talked about. It keeps going. Both directions, it keeps going. So if it keeps going, I'm not sure where it stops. Okay, the arrows mean that it keeps going. Okay, so we would say that the y is also all real numbers. Okay, and the last thing, is this a function? So if I'm checking if it's a function, I'm drawing a vertical line and I'm trying to find a spot. Does it ever pass twice? Okay, are there ever 2 points that it touches? And in this case, there are no points, which means it is a function. Yes. Let's look at number 2. So the first thing with number 2 is we're looking to see, trying to find the domain. So that's from left to right. So is that where it starts and stops right there at -5 and 1? I would disagree because as this goes down, it slowly gets wider. It slowly gets wider. So there's no specific start or stop to it, which means that domain is all real numbers. And guess what? You don't have to write that down every single time. There's a cool symbol that you can use, okay? If you draw two L's next to each other and you make one of them look like an R. Let's do that again. Okay, that symbol means all real numbers. That's what it means, okay? Now, let's look at the Y. As it goes down and down and down and down and down, there's no stop to it. But look at right there. Does it go all the way up? Can it be at 5 or 10 or 15? No, because there's a specific stop to it. And that specific stop is at the point 3. So when we would write this, we would say that y can it be greater than 3? No. So it has to be less than, and it's actually on the mark, so that means it can be less than or equal to 3. And that's it. Now, is it a function? You tell me. Is there any point where you draw a line, a vertical line, not a horizontal, vertical line? Everywhere you draw it, it'll only touch once, which means that this is a function. Okay. Let's look at number 3. So once again, the x, is there beginning or an end to this? Well, let's find out. It goes do 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 whoop. Well, there's no that way. What about to the right? I'm drawing it. Whoa! Was there one? Sorry guys, flip pages. No, there's no ending. Okay. So since there's no beginning, there's no ending to this, that it is all real numbers. So x is all real numbers. What about the range? Now the range is the same thing. Okay, there's no beginning because this keeps going up and it keeps going down. So no start, no stop. We can't see it. So the y, the range is all real numbers. Now, is it a function? Try it, like you can't just draw that line there. No, Mr. Grice. Look, Mr. Grice, it only touches once. Okay, but what about there? As soon as you find one line that touches more than one point, it is not a function. Okay, let's look at number 4. So the domain is first. To the right, no ending. And to the left, even though it keeps going up, it's going to go up and out. Okay, which means that there's no beginning. So it would be x would equal all real numbers. Now the y going up and down, it can go as high as it wants to, but let's look. Does it ever get to 0? I don't think so. I don't think it ever gets to 0. So that means that we have to be a little more specific that y, can it be less than 0? Can it come down here? It's not less than 0. Y is greater to 0. Now, it never touches it, so we can't say that it's or equal to. It's just y is greater than 0. And is this a function? Yeah, no matter where you draw your line, it only touches once. So this is a function. All right, number 5. So let's look at our domain first. So this tells me that it goes all the way to the left, and then it goes all the way to the right. So that means that our domain is all real numbers. Okay, remember that that symbol means all real numbers. Okay, now let's talk about the range. So the range, it has a specific, remember we're talking about up and down, and up and down, those are my limits. It can be anything in between here, but it can't be less than that, and it can't be greater than that. So let's find out where those numbers are. It's at -2, and this is at +3. So y can be anywhere in between there. So we would start with where it is. It starts at -2 because we always start from lowest to highest. And we're going to have it point to the left, and I'm going to show you why in a second. Okay, so less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 3. So what those two are saying is y is less than or equal to 3, but y is greater than or equal to -2. But you're like, Mr. Grice, it says that -2 is less than or equal to y. Isn't that how we wrote it? Yeah, but I want you to read it backwards. So as the y is first. Y is greater than or equal to -2. We just write it as one huge inequality. Okay? I know that's kind of hard to see. Now, is this a function, yes or no? Well, if you draw your line right there, it's a function. Right there, it's a function. But I need to draw only one line, just one line that makes it false. And there it is. So is it a function? No. Okay, number 6. Number 6 is the first one on the domain where we can see the specific start and stop. Okay, so from left to right, left, it goes as far left as 0 and as far right as 4. Okay, and remember that we write the x in between it just like we did for the range in number 5. Okay, so we would say 0 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4. Okay, and the reason, remember, it doesn't go past 0, so I can't say that it goes past 0. It's specifically 0 and specifically 4. That is the start and stop. Now, for the range, going up and down, once again, 0 and 4. It doesn't go higher or lower than that, so we're pretty much copying the same exact thing as we did for the domain, except it's got a 0, y. So 0 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 4. Okay? So when you see the specific start and stop, that y is going to go in the middle, or the x, depending if you're talking about domain and range, and then tell me what the lower one is and tell me what the higher one is, because we write them in order from least to greatest. And for these ones, guys, they're always going to be pointing to the left. The only thing that's going to be different is it less than or equal to, or just is less than? Okay? Now, is this a function, yes or no? You tell me. I can draw a line where it only touches once, but as soon as I draw a line that touches twice, then our answer is no. Okay? Well, guys, this is going to be the first part of the video for 9.1. The back side will be its own separate video. So if you have any questions on the front side, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, this is it for Algebra Unit 9.1 Notes, Video 1, front side. Stay tuned for Video 2.